Two and go.
Welcome back to the Austin Lucas Hour. It was really good talking with you today, Brenda, and finding out about things that you've done and doing now and what the future looks like. I'm going to step off set right now and turn the program over to my co-host.
You will be missed.
Well, you will be missed more, sir. And, just understand it is the Austin Lucas Hour.
Indeed.
Indeed. Okay. So when I get back, that's I expect you to handle it and take care of it. And
I'm totally in your tutelage.
You guys got this? We got it. Don't worry. Don't worry, Joe.
We know who's in charge.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be leaving, and Mark, go ahead and talk with Brenda.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
And
we'll just wrest this mic out of your creative hands.
Oh yeah,
yes,
that's
sir.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna have to step up and get another.
Go
mic.
make some big deals so the lights stay on here. See you, Jim.
Right. Are you leaving too? Wait, this is our producer.
Don't take our sidekick Cedric back there trying to sneak out. Cedric's the guts of the organization.
We're on our own here.
Cedric, take care. Oh, Cedric's not gonna say anything. He didn't want his voice pattern to be copied.
Yeah, it's silent but deadly.
So let's get back, if we can. We had briefly touched on earlier women's health, Go Red for Women, our entrepreneurial spirit in this country, just everybody working themselves to the bone, and the toll that can take on family values.
Yeah.
Part of that is definitely teen pregnancy, which is something you're passionate about. Can you speak to your passion about that, and what can you teach us? What have you learned?
Well, when we were talking during the break, your sister, I believe, was in that target zone. What we are finding is that many teens who are pregnant have now made the connection that they ended up where they were, not by accident. They, too, are the product of a teen pregnancy. Their mother, their father, were teenagers when they became pregnant. And so the cycle repeats itself. The grandmother had a child when she was a teenager. The result of that continues with another teen pregnancy. Does that make sense? It's hard to...
No, absolutely. It's a cycle, and it happened in my family with my sister and my niece. That cycle did, and the subject, like every subject, has a flip side or a two-part. I mean, we had the children that came from that are blessings.
Amen.
I mean, I can't imagine our family without my niece or without my great nephew, but you don't have to. So we're not saying that we don't applaud and honor them.
Absolutely,
we
because
love
the
them.
alternative, it could have been exercise. But here's the thing that I'm finding in our culture today: sex is recreational. We've forgotten the purpose of sex, and so that's what I've talked to the teens about. And the biggest thing is, while they have tried all the different sorts of contraceptions that didn't necessarily work, where was the contraception for their heart? And until you begin to make the connection with the heart wound, you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again because you're looking for something to satisfy an emptiness. And we keep connecting with the wrong thing. And so every time we are engaged with someone in an intimate way, and then we break up, it's a tearing apart on the inside. And so we get into the next relationship, but there's an open wound in there. You think you're okay because some time has passed, but there's still that open wound. And until that heals the right way, you feel, you lose your value, your sense of self-worth. And it's until that healing occurs, the same behavior will persist.
So how do you balance the need for, well, I'm going to say the need, in my opinion, the need for open discussion and contraception with genital contraception or whatever the term would be. How do you balance that with contraception of the heart? What you mean? The reason I ask, I used to live in, for a time I lived in Utah, and the word condom cannot even be mentioned in most school districts. A local school district has the authority, if they want to go beyond the scope and curriculum of the state, they can do that. Most of them are afraid to do that and won't. And so the little town that I lived in, which was about 6,000 people, had the highest teen pregnancy rate per capita in the state. The word condom could not be mentioned. You know, they couldn't have sex education. This was, you know, just a few years back. I think there's a need for that because we all know that hormones it's natural to want to have sex. I'm not saying it should be encouraged, but do you feel like there's a place to still have that discussion and provide condoms along with this counterpart, or no?
Here's the question. What's the purpose of sex?
Well, I think, it's to procreate, but I think it's also, for pleasure and for bonding and closeness, to show your love for another person.
You hit it. It's for bonding.
Yeah.
And so we're using this.
What should be for bonding is just play.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's a wonderful thing. And sex is a wonderful thing, and it's used outside of its design too many times. And so with the bonding, we have this chemical that is produced. Women and men both have it, but women especially. It's called oxytocin. And it's really prevalent when we are nursing. That's that bonding agent between mom and baby. And so guys have also what's called vasopressin, and that gives them that charge. That's present also when they are intimate with someone. So as we have this oxytocin, especially as women, that causes us to bond with this person, and then we break up. Imagine, if you will, tape, a piece of sticky tape, and so you're intimate with someone, you're bonded through the seal, and then you rip it away, right? And the next girl comes along, and you are bonded again. Well, think about what happens to the stickiness of that tape after a period of time.
Yeah, the residue that's left, right.
And now you're married, and you're wondering why you can't bond with your wife or with your husband. Because this bonding, this wonderful intimacy created for bonding has been overused. So yeah, you can try whatever contraception, but again, this is a heart matter. And the one you want to eventually give your heart to, they're getting something that is, I don't know how to describe it. It's not as...
Well, I think I know that the statistics I've read and the people I've talked to, that after a serious relationship, a real serious relationship or marriage, you should take anywhere from 1 to 4 years, 2 to 5 years of the terms of her, before you really are ready to. That doesn't mean that you're not progressing along that path. Doesn't mean you have to sit there for 4 years, not see anybody, not date anybody. And some people may be ready. They work through that residue, as we call it, within a year. Some may be 3 years, but you jump in a little quick, and I've experienced it.
Yeah. Well, tell me this: how did you feel after you broke up?
Oh, depend. If it was somebody, I guess that depends on if you're the breakee or the breaker.
Right.
But I don't know. For me, even if I was the one that decided to break up, or I didn't have the passion for her, I still felt bad. Just as well, but now
But that wasn't by accident.
No.
It wasn't by accident that you felt the way you did because of the intimacy, the level of intimacy that you went to.
Oh yeah, I go through all kinds of loss and depression, and just a big boob. Frank Sinatra used to call himself, and he said he was an 18-karat gold manic depressive, and when he did, he lived it out. He finally found a partner, and they were together for 20 plus, I think, years. But, before that, his ups and downs and roller coasters were wild and varied. And I've lived that life myself, and have been with women who have the residue was not over yet, and
now they're into
they
the
got
next
in a relationship with me, and they weren't over the other, and then I got beat up somewhat because of him. I've experienced all that.
Yeah, and so often teenagers associate dating with sex, and it doesn't have to be one and the same. Right. You can date and get to know that person over a period of time. So, but it's recreational now.
Yeah.
Sex is treated more like it's a recreational sport rather than for its true design.
So, does it need to be handled in the schools primarily? I mean, everybody, we'd think in the home would be the ideal place, but as we just got through talking, the home is, no one's at the home because everybody's working.
Right. It's not handled in the schools, and the schools have to promote the use of different contraceptions. But don't you know, sex is happening at the junior high school and high school level.
Oh yeah, of course it was certainly happening in the high school level when I was in high school. It wasn't happening with me. I wanted to, but it wasn't. But I don't really recall hearing that much at the junior high level, but I do now.
Mark,
hear about it all the time.
I've met young ladies who are on their second pregnancy and they haven't graduated high school yet.
Right. I taught school for a while out in California and saw that. I was glad that at least the stigma wasn't there that they could still come to school, but there was a concern, well, are we legitimizing it? And I don't know that any of my female students that were not pregnant felt like it was getting the stamp of legitimacy or that you wanted it to be encouraging it. I think they realized the struggles that the girls were going through, but at least they could still come and go to school, instead of being shunned.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of, there are women who've committed suicide from the horrible feelings of being alone and feeling like a pariah for getting pregnant,
You were not planning on talking about this today, were you?
I was not, but I'm happy to be talking. You know what? There are issues I'm passionate about. I worry and cogitate and think all the time about how, as a society, our different systems can deal with it. I would love to wave a wand, but when you look, we have churches, we have schools, we have counseling, but I don't know that we've done a very adequate job if you look at the statistics, right?
And that's why I do just what I can. I can't reach everybody, but I'd love to. I work with Just Say Yes. It's a nonprofit.
Oh, that's what we need to talk
about. And our program
is
Breaking the Cycle. We've been talking about my subject matter. The program is called Breaking the Cycle. And through a grant, we are able to go into some schools and talk to those who have already had a child. I'd love to talk to that teenager who hasn't yet made that decision to have sex.
Oh yeah.
But we can't get to them until it's too late.
Huh.
But I tell you, I ask all of them, by a show of hands, how many of you wish that you had made a different decision? How many of you really want to be in this situation?
Oh, I know.
And all of them raise their hands.
Every one of them.
Right.
Right.
But that's not the message that's out there. So many times our kids are learning about S blank blank, and I say it that way because my mom wrote me a letter when I was a junior in college. She says, I'm so glad we finally talked about S blank blank.
Oh. I know, yeah.
But we've got to talk to them. The way to change the cycle is through communicating. Telling them the truth about it, and it's a very natural conversation to have. When you think about it, all around us in nature, we are seeing the birth of something new. When the bee pollinates the flower, we see it when we were on farms in more rural areas.
Oh, yeah,
you saw it all the time. It was a natural, normal thing.
Sure.
Even you can talk to your child about an apple, for example, and how those seeds of the apple are buried deep inside and they're protected inside of there.
True.
And
Good analogy with a woman.
yeah,
A girl, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
So there are wonderful ways to talk about it, but the problem is we're not, and we're leaving it to our child's friends to have those conversations.
well, and it's that's interesting for me to hear because I would think if you'd asked me, now in this day and age, is the topic talked about more openly and without as much reservation as it used to be, and I would have said, well, yeah, but maybe that's the misperception. It is, but it's not in a real education like fashion or a learning fashion. It's just more out there like fun, sex, do it. It's not talked about in a way with much guidance, I guess.
Right. Well, what about alcohol? Do we talk about that and what it leads to? There are so many different things in our culture that are widely accepted, but we don't play that thing all the way through to the consequence.
Yeah, I know. And I like to drink. I like wine. I like that. But there definitely, there are consequences. If there probably was less alcohol, there would probably be less teen pregnancy. I would bet. I would guess.
They do go hand in hand. You're right. They do
Yeah.
go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Alcohol, drugs, and teen pregnancy.
Sure.
And then the other thing we see is you're more likely to end up in prison if you are, the product of intimacy. So that child is more likely to end up in prison. So, but we've got to talk about these things and
well, it makes
get back to
sense
some
because
basics.
it's hard to raising a child is. I can't think of it's great and it's lovely and it's wonderful, certainly, but the challenges that one has to be prepared for that challenge. I mean, you really need to be, even people that plan it and that are ready and that read every book and that are economically well off with it's a gut punch for them.
So true.
So everybody out there, anybody that's just lands on them, that's why those statistics are there, because if you don't have a network of family and friends to help you, a village, and a lot of people don't,
Yeah, that's so true. And, for a guy, it's like, you're learning you're learning the wrong things.
That's true.
So anyhow,
So what are we going to do?
Well,
Brenda,
we got to talk. We got to talk more. We got to get back to the basics, and I think the more we do that, men have to get back to their role, and the man's role is to protect. But our kids, they hear the music, they see the images. I hear that there is a push in a community to ban the tights that the girls wear now, because men are visual.
Like the yoga pants. Yeah, we are very
You're
visual.
very visual.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's tough on a young man with all these hormones raging in junior high school and high school, and he sees, this walking across the school campus. So we've got to get back to some basics, I think, and teach our children what it really means to date, what that whole process is about, because it's to lead to marriage, and teach them how to be friends. You can be friends with a woman or a man, someone of the opposite sex. It doesn't always have to end up in an intimate relationship, because in spending time with them over 3 to 6 months, you might find out that they're not a good match for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, and it's hard. Yeah, I will say that as a man, we want to just get there and get there quick because we're feeling that emotion, and I'm sure a woman does too. But I think a lot of women have, if the man wasn't pressuring them as much, probably have better skills at waiting, before sex to see if you're a good match. And that is true. You have sex, and you might have sex well, or maybe fun, but when you do that fast, it does. It definitely clouds the perception of are we really good to get along? I mean,
there's some research that shows that when you have sex at an early age, it affects your decision making down the road. you second guess yourself. And they did that with laboratory mice, I believe it was, and they couldn't see their way out of the maze the same way. Isn't that interesting? So it does affect the brain in a very dramatic way. So we have to be mindful of that. And then also, Mark, think about the TV shows that we watch today. We're saturated with all of the who is sleeping with who and all.
Well,
it's
sex
just crazy.
sells everything. It's used to sell everything from cars to computers to whatever.
And who's talking about anything meaningful that can really make a difference in your life?
Yeah. Well, look at how much time is devoted on what used to be hard news shows to fluff. Near every network news that I see always drops in, promotes, I don't know, the reality television shows that are on their same network.
Even in the commercials, my 11-year-old was saying that he was really bothered by a couple of commercials that were on. He says, "Mom, it's everywhere you look."
Yeah.
And my 11-year-old is noticing. We never, once upon a time, let's go back to some, Ozzie and Harriet days. Yeah. We never would have seen, this type of stuff on TV once upon a time. Right. But now anything goes. And it is affecting our culture, whether we want to believe it or not.
So before we wrap up, and I think we're supposed to wrap up here
we
soon.
are?
I think.
Oh, man. Okay, yeah, we've got about another 30 seconds.
I think. Or we'll just wait till Cedric comes in and gives us the eye. Tell us about your initiative that you're doing and what your challenges are with it.
Well, again, it's the nonprofit is Just Say Yes, and please visit the website.
And would that be justsayyes.org?
Org. Yes, and they're on Facebook as well. And if you are a school teacher or counselor, and if you'd like your students to hear about how to break the cycle of teen pregnancy, please contact us. I'd love to go to every school here in the North Texas area and beyond. It's a message that teenagers need to hear. I certainly wish that my mom had had this discussion with me when I was a teenager. It could have made an amazing difference in my life. And sure, I went on to do wonderful things in my career, but there was always that voice of doubt that could very well have come from decisions that I made when I was a teenager.
Yeah, I agree. I wish that I would have been given the opportunity to be mentored in a way like that. I just learned what I learned from locker room talk and hearing buddies. We had a health class, but there was no one in a real position of mentoring or respect that sat down and really gave me a meaningful talk on a consistent way about that subject at all.
Oh my goodness.
At all.
The heartache it would have saved.
A lot. I would have felt way more prepared. And I frankly don't know why there's such reluctance and fear in talking about it, because I'm pretty open. If I had children, I would gladly talk about it.
We're doing it. We might as well talk about it, right?
Yeah. I know. Isn't that so strange? It's something that you do that's a natural, fun, great part is shrouded in such mystery and denial. It's real sort of schizophrenic.
Yeah. I tell you, this all came about as a result of my journey. I looked up one day and found myself in the middle of an ocean drowning, and didn't realize how far I had drifted because of a heart wound. And thankfully, the Lord helped me find my way back to shore, led me back to shore. But in that journey, I realized how much I had lost of myself, not being affirmed by the person who I loved, and it was a slow fade. And I think that there are a lot of women who are in that process of slowly losing sight of who they are. And I'll tell you, I became angry. I was short-tempered.
Sure.
It was all those things because of a deeper wound. And that's what led me to breaking the cycle. If I can help that teenager begin to connect with those wounds, I don't want anybody to end up where I was. And again, it's only by the grace of God that He led me back to shore. Had that not happened, I'd not be able to be the mother that I am today to my children. So that's is really what is behind my passion. It's because of my journey.
Well, I think that's where most things that are really meaningful and that are going to create an impact usually have their impetus in a personal experience. You know, I mean, listen to all the great love songs. I mean, if it wasn't for heartbreak and the wound that you just spoke about, I wonder how many songs that would erase from the songbook. Half of them,
Or
three-fourths of them.
or we'd be writing different types of songs.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just the heartache,
Yeah.
it'd be more about celebrate.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's true. Well, folks, I'm going to, as we go out here, say that please check justsayyes.org.
Yeah.
And don't think that the hurdle is too high, what comes to my mind, to try and get this into your school or wherever your children are. I just heard recently that Nestle, the Nestle company, which is a behemoth, giant, has been, putting food coloring and additives into their products for decades and decades. But one mother asked the question, why do we have to have, food and drug color number 5 and number 7? And she gathered 100,000 or more petitions and sent them in. And by the end of the year, Nestle is going to have removed they're going to just go natural ingredients and remove all coloring. They're going to replace like FD&C yellow number 5 with Annetto. So if one mother can get that done with the Nestle Corporation, then enough people out there can do justsayyes.org and go to your PTA or go to your teacher, your neighborhood group, your church group, and
begin to break the cycle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that they can't. If you just, it takes time because you're working, but to make the difference, to make the call, to call your friends, get a group together, get the school to listen to you, I think you'll find that you'll have success getting it in there. But you've got to make that effort.
That's right. So
help Brenda Teal and help your daughters and your sons make that effort.
Yeah, that's what I tell my boys. You are her protector. You're not a predator. And your job as a man is to make sure that woman is okay. If the visual is just making sure she gets safely across the street, it's the same with life. Make sure she gets safely onto college and beyond because of the protection of a man.
That's true. So that's good. Yeah, you're a protector, not a predator. And if you feel that predator or that lustful instinct start, I know for me, I like a woman. I've made some, probably decisions of what the best. But I will say, what always stopped me in my tracks was usually I remembered that she's somebody's sister, somebody's niece, somebody's daughter. I treasure mine, so I should treasure theirs. And with that, I hear the magic door of Cedric, the enforcer. There he is. He has entered the frame.
Silent and smiling.
And so this is Mark Lucas Kelly, and it's been a thrill to talk with you, Brenda Teal.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.
I applaud you for what you're doing. JustSayYes.org. And I will sign us out for the Austin Lucas Hour and look forward to seeing you next time with our more than capable leader and host, Jim Austin. Bye now. That good, Cedric?
That's perfect.
All right,
Okay.
There we go.
Talking about more than what you planned on. Sorry.
Hey, man, I don't know. Jim and I just kind of hit it off at this mixer and started. He knew that I'd been in public radio back in my past.
He's a natural. He's a Texan.
So we.
It is.
So.
All right.
We are.
Well, we'll see what that does.
We'll see if we get some traction for Just Say